Going on, guys? Nick City Rock. Glad to be back. It's been a while. It feels just like especially when the season just ends. It just always feels, weird. As far as I don't know, just not being able to see the Knicks play anymore. It's just weird. But nevertheless, I'm always down to talk, and got another one for you guys. As far as we're just gonna talk about a bunch of stuff as far as like free agency and some more news. So yeah, but off to you. I mean, just giving your introduction. My fault,
Yeah,
man.
what's going on, guys? Welcome back to Nick City. We're here for another episode. I think this is episode 5. We got a exciting show for you. We're going to talk about Melo's retirement. We're going to talk about options that the Knicks have with players like Emmanuel Quickly and Josh Hart, and we're also going to touch on the possibility of the Knicks targeting Minnesota Timberwolves center Carl Anthony Towns. So we're going to start off with Carmelo, and I'll let Jordan start us off here.
Yeah. So Carmelo Anthony just recently retired, and obviously it's kind of it feels good to see him retire and different things like that. But obviously, under the circumstances, I definitely want him to win a ring. But those things don't always happen, and it's okay. But in the end, I just think Melo was a great player, a great teammate. He led us to the semifinals at one point, in that 2012-2013 season, but second, that's probably my second favorite season, behind this run that we just had, where we almost, we were so close, so I don't know. It's just he's definitely my favorite player, and as a Knick for sure. And I recently saw how they were like kind of contemplating whether they were gonna. I think they said they leaning towards getting his jersey number retired with the Knicks. And I definitely feel like that's something that should happen. I think he's that. I definitely think he's earned that. And I definitely feel like the Knicks kind of, they kind of dealt him a bad hand at certain times, and I feel like, he did as much as he could. He took a pay cut one year. He tried to recruit. He did what he could as a star player, to try and get players there. But the general managers and people like they couldn't. The front office they couldn't, pull the trigger and get him the help he needed to get us over the top. So in the end, I just think Melo he deserves that, and he deserves to be in the Hall of Fame for sure. And I just think I'm looking forward to seeing what he's gonna be and what he's gonna do. Either for the Knicks or I'm sure he'll be around the NBA in some capacity, and I definitely can't wait to see what his son turns into. Let's see what Cayenne can pass the torch. Like I just want to speak on that video. That video was like that was a great video. As far as like how he just kind of passed the torch to his son, and those are some big shoes to fill. So it's gonna be interesting seeing how Kanye grows and seeing what he turns into. And I'm definitely gonna be there. I'm definitely gonna be keeping my eye on it. So yeah, but I'll pass it to you, man. Yeah, how
Yeah,
you feeling
so
about that?
for me, obviously, if you haven't known me already, but Carmelo Anthony is my favorite basketball player ever. He's a hometown hero because we're from Rochester, New York, so he was able to win Syracuse basketball's double NCAA team. He was able to win the national championship with them, and he's the only person to win for Syracuse. So for me, he already started off on a great foot. And then we were lucky enough to have Carmelo Anthony play for the New York Knicks and have a couple of absolutely phenomenal seasons. And like Jordan was saying, he was a part of the team that got to the semifinals, and that was your second favorite New York Knicks team from your time period. But that's my favorite New York Knicks team. Melo is more fun to watch than, in my opinion, than any of the players that the Knicks currently have. Maybe the
Okay.
only exception would
Okay.
be Jalen Brunson. Jalen Brunson's getting there. We only
Yeah.
had one one year to see Jalen Brunson, but what Melo has done in his career is absolutely phenomenal. He's a scoring machine. He's a class act. He, every time he played the game, bad game, good game, he was at the post game conference. He was just a nice guy. When
Was.
social media came across, he's always been a great guy. He has a podcast. It's also pretty cool too. But he just represented every single team he played for in the best light possible. When he was in Denver, he represented the Denver shirt great. When he's in New York, he represented the New York shirt great. And then when he was on the couple of teams at the ending of his career with not the Timberwolves, the Trailblazers, Oklahoma City Thunder, and the Lakers, he again represented those jerseys absolutely phenomenal. And again, I just think he's just a great guy, and so it was great watching him play. And when he left the NBA finally after 19 absolutely phenomenal years, it's kind of sad to see him go. But when age gets to you, you kind of can't play forever. So it kind of got to him. But for Melo, like Jordan was saying, the Knicks are considering retiring his number, and I think they're probably going to do it, right?
I
That's what they
believe
said.
so. That's what they said. They said they're
Okay.
leaning towards doing it. So
Yeah, so a couple people might have been a little bit skeptical because he was on the Knicks for what, 7 years? I mean
yeah,
that's not that long. When you're trying to retire a jersey number, most likely they play for the team their entire career and they've done extraordinary things. And obviously Melo has done extraordinary things for the Knicks in the 7 years that he played for them. But I personally think they should retire it. Seeing number 7 Anthony in the rafters in MSG, I think is well deserved. He was definitely one of the best players the New York Knicks have ever had. And again, it's sad to see him go, but like Jordan said, it's exciting to see what he can do in his after his NBA career. Whether it be, he already has a podcast right now, maybe he continues that. He might go into broadcasting with the NBA, and obviously his son is working on getting to the NBA, so it's going to be excited to see what his kid can do. But overall, I mean, kudos to Melo. We love him here on this show, and we hope him for the best. And I do really appreciate the years that personally, as a basketball fan, because like I said before, in Syracuse, he gave us the best season ever for Syracuse basketball, and for the Knicks, he provided me my favorite New York Knicks season. And so, yeah, that's pretty much the flowers I'm going to give to Melo. But I did want to ask Jordan, what were a couple of games that Melo had that you really
ah,
recognize? Because I have a couple in my head, but I wanted to throw it to you really quick.
yeah. So I would say I'm gonna just give three. I got three off rip. The 62-point game at home
Yep.
because ain't nobody broke that record yet. You know what I'm saying? So I was just gonna say I was just gonna add that on after you was just getting finished the talking. It was like who is there gonna be a Nick that beats that record or is there gonna be another player from another team? Let's see. And then I was gonna say that game against Chicago in April. I remember it. It was around my birthday. Oh, I forgot what year. I think it's like I forgot what year, but yeah, that game where he hit he had a couple clutch shots over Luol Deng, like crazy shots. I'm like, oh wow, yeah. And Mike Breen was on the call too. Bang, But nah, then I got that. It popped in my head. He had a 50-point game against the Heat. Like I don't know. It was in Miami too. It was like and they won the game. I think it was a 50-win season too. Like that same season, like when he won scoring champion. He was he was unstoppable that game. That was a good game that I definitely remember.
Yeah, so for me, just gonna piggyback real quick. So the games that for me I recognize, obviously the 62-point game. That's probably one of the. It's definitely top three. Personally think the best game he's put on in the Nick jersey is that Chicago game. That's my favorite game for
Yeah,
Melo. Like that, the what he did down the stretch is like like that's legendary performance. And obviously,
Clutch
it's
play after
yeah,
clutch play.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's not like it's a playoff game; it's a regular season game, but still, any regular season, is still pretty big. A couple of games, all the games that you mentioned, obviously are big. The one against the Heat where he scored like 50, and then you got the game against the Bobcats, and then you got the Chicago game. But I had also a couple in my head too. LeBron James's return to Cleveland. If you remember, they played the Knicks, and Melo ruined that homecoming for LeBron
Okay.
because Melo
Yeah.
Melo
Okay.
had a good game that game. I
Yeah.
think he had
Yeah.
like at least 30 some odd points, but I remember he was toasting in Cleveland that game. And again, it's LeBron's homecoming, and everyone's it's a packed house in Cleveland. Everyone's like, oh, the Knicks have no chance. And Melo came in and said, "Nope, I'm still the guy." And they were able to
For
win
sure.
that game. And Melo had a lot of clutch shots down the stretch. Another game that I really did like, Melo had a really good performance in Game 2 when they went to the semifinals against Indiana in Madison Square Garden.
Okay.
He was going nuts against Indiana. He had this one play to where he kind of got fouled, and the play continued, and he continued it and got an and one. I remember because I was a kid when that happened. I remember just freaking out. Like that was probably one of the best moments as a Knicks fan. Like I was just so excited when he made that shot, and then he made the and one. And then lastly, when Steph Curry came to town, he
Oh,
torched us. He torched us. Yeah,
he was
everyone
torching
remembers.
us, right? That boy had
Yeah,
50 something,
everyone remember
54.
Steph Curry getting what like 56 or something like. He killed us
Yeah.
bad, but still they lost. They lost the game because guess who we had? We had Carmelo Anthony, and he also had an absolutely phenomenal game. Obviously,
I
people remember Steph Curry's performance, but I think Melo had an actually really stellar performance, and he was able to take the Knicks and carry them to victory in that game. So I mean, basically with Carmelo Anthony, when he was on the court and they won the game, he was the reason why they won because he scored like 25 plus points every
I
game.
was gonna say, hats off to Ray Felton. He the one who he got that
Yep.
block on Steph Curry
Oh
at the end of
yeah.
the game. Yeah, I
Right.
remember that. I remember that game. That was a great game. But
Right.
yeah, my
Yeah.
fault. That's a quick side note.
No, you're good. But yeah, those are a couple of games that I really remember. But it's just when you're a Nick fan and you're a Melo fan, you just want him to be successful, and he was successful the entire time. Um, but and that's pretty much I wanted to recognize the games, but I think I don't know if we want to really dive into this, but we'll do it really quick. What was your kind of overall census with the whole Phil Jackson and the Mello situation toward the ending of his time in New York? Like, I just want to get your take on that real quick before we start moving on to the current Knicks situation.
I'll just be honest, man. I just don't think Phil wasn't cut out to be a GM, and I think him being in the coach's role, that's what Not everybody is able to make, and not everybody is able to be Pat Riley. Let's just say that. Like not everybody is able to wear all the hats and be able to make all the decisions because it was clear that a lot of decisions that Phil made, whether it be how he talks to the media about Melo and how he kind of portrayed him at certain times, that kind of just gave a I don't know it just brought a negative spotlight on the Knicks and also Phil Jackson as well, which eventually led to him being fired. So I just think Phil Jackson, he's where he belongs right now. Let's just say that for sure. He, just relax. I think he still consults for the Lakers or something. I
Yeah,
mean,
something around the lines.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So I'm like, hey, stick to that. But
Yeah,
you
lastly for me, it was kind of a
my fault.
no, you're
I
good.
just want to add though, but just add on to what you were saying as far as like the professionalism of our Carmelo Anthony. I never seen out of like especially as a Knick, in my years of watching the Knicks, there's no, well, nah. See, that's where we go. That's why I like Jalen Brunson, man. He, not to say him and Melo is there together, but like you said, Jalen Brunson is like it's from a professionalism standpoint, from a talent standpoint, just from being able to like just put the team on your back. From that type of standpoint, it's like he getting there as far as like being as close to Melo, in that I'm not gonna give it to him right away, but hey, he took us to the second round already for year one.
Right.
So like he was just in the Western Conference Finals a year before this. So he cold. Like he really a good player. So I have to I don't know, but that like when I say that, that's why I was just saying like I just think that Melo is just he's very professional and like it was a lot of times like you said even in that 62 when he had that 62-point game that was a terrible season they had that was a losing season but he still was professional he still gave it his all night in night out even in bad seasons because he had some bad seasons too as a Knick so it just showed like he was there through thick and thin. He never wavered. So yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, basically for me with the whole Phil Jackson thing and like what you were just mentioning, yeah, it wasn't all sunflowers and rainbows when Melo was a New York Knick. He had a couple of good years where they were in the playoffs. The farthest he went was the semifinals. The other years were agonizing, dreadful seasons to where they missed the playoffs and they weren't all that great and the only person performing was Melo. But the problem I have with Phil Jackson was for some reason towards the ending of Melo's time in New York, he kind of set him out, even though he was their best player. He was performing every night, and what Jordan was saying, he was showing how professional he was. Win or loss, if the team was winning in regards to the season or they were losing, he's still in the post game conferences, talking to the media, encouraging his team to be better. And Phil Jackson, for some reason, was trying to run him out of town and finally he did by trading him with a pretty lousy trade to the Oklahoma City Thunder. And I mean, Melo at that time was still pretty good. I mean, he was still scoring really efficiently, and Phil Jackson just, I guess, didn't want him to be there. So I kind of a little bit salty that Phil Jackson kind of treated Melo the way that he
Well, I
treated
think
him.
I
Um,
think at that point Melo was kind of fed up, but
yeah,
and that's another thing I wanted to kind of add on to it is like considering the professionalism is like it was kind of times where Phil Jackson kind of went at him and threw shots, subliminally or different things like that to the media, and Melo still handled that professionally. He could have responded like a lot of the other stars like
right.
we see who like they throw shots or different things like that. He could have been immature about it, but he still was professional through it all. So yeah, man, hats off to him for sure.
Yeah, and then the Phil Jackson, like I said, he kind of ran him out of the town because I guess he didn't trust him. But I don't understand that because like what we were talking about, like what Jordan was talking about, he's always professional. Even when Phil Jackson was given throwing shots at him, he still took them and still acted professional, and he still got traded. And I don't know what they were trying to do. It was the easiest explanation to surround a team with Melo, get him a good point guard, get him a good role players. But unfortunately, they tried to do that with Amari Stoudemire, and he just couldn't stay healthy. And they just really the pieces that they were trying to put together just never worked. They had that one year with like Courtney Lee, Derrick Rose, Joakim Noah, and Porzingis, and Melo
Yeah.
was the main
Derrick
guy.
Rose said they was a Derrick
Yeah,
Rose said they was a super team that year.
yeah, I mean, on paper, it kind of worked. I didn't really like Courtney Lee. People thought Courtney Lee was going to be, and he didn't really work at all. And that team easily crumbled and fumbled because their bench wasn't all that great. And again, that was the year Carmelo Anthony was on the team, and it was a tough year to endure. But again, Melo still chugged along and played. But overall, again, should he have just went to another? Let's just talk about. I'll quickly talk about this, then we'll move on to the actual Knicks. For me, when he left the Knicks and he got traded to OKC, he had a couple opportunities to sign with a couple of teams to really ensure, in a way, he could have got a ring by going to a couple of maybe the Lakers in the bubble. He could have went to, or he could have just tried to go on to a team to where they had a really good chance, but he never really seemed to do that. The last year was with the Lakers that he played, and he thought him, LeBron, Russell Westbrook, and all that were going to kick him into success, and that was an absolutely dreadful year for the Lakers. But
Right.
I wish he would have won for the Knicks, but it is what it is. But that's pretty much it for me. Lastly, I just want to again congratulate Carmelo Anthony on an absolutely phenomenal basketball career. Again in Denver, he was absolutely sensational. In New York, he was absolutely sensational. And the other teams, obviously, age got to him, but he was still, sensational throughout his entire basketball career. So I want to thank him for everything that he did, and then I'm super interested to see what he does afterwards and to see what his kid can do. So I'll let Jordan give his last thoughts on Melo here.
Yeah. And I think, okay, so yeah, as far as Melo and everything, like I said, hats off to him. I wish him nothing but the best, and I know he's gonna do great things. He's gonna continue to help his son, hopefully get to where he is at, and maybe potentially ascend. But um, it's step by step, so we'll see where that goes. But yeah, so I wanted to switch and let's talk about quickly. Recently got a report. I recently saw a report that Manuel quickly could get around 80 mil to 100 mil in the in the off season. Yeah, he could. You didn't see that? You didn't see that report?
No, dude, I only have like one. I'm not on Twitter or any of that stuff, so I gotta get like Bleacher Report, or I might
Yeah,
have to
man.
get Twitter again
Let's
to
get
see.
Bleacher Report. Yeah,
Yeah,
I was about to say, man, yo, yeah,
but
80 to a million. I mean, to 100 million. They saying he could potentially get
for how like year wise, how long? Or is
4 years,
just
80. It
okay?
could like that. That's 4 years, 80 could be the baseline. That's what they're saying. So it could that's like the low end. It could get to So how you feel about how with that? Obviously, with the playoffs, how the playoffs went, and what we saw from him in the playoffs, and then but also on top of that, considering the great season that he had, he definitely improved throughout the season, and showed that he can be a solid shooter, a great defender. The passing is definitely developing. As far as his IQ for the game, he's it's just you can definitely see it is just getting a lot better. And on top of that, he's a hard worker, and I just think the skies can be the limit for him. I definitely think he can reach higher paths, but I just struggle to wonder if he can reach those paths with us. That's the only thing I can say about that. But I guess we'll see. So I throw it to you. How you kind of feel about
So
how much he could got? Do you think? I guess I'll just give my little spiel. I mean, personally, 80 to 100 mil. That's kind of for a player coming off our bench. I think that's a lot to
yeah.
ask. But then again, on top of that, you got Josh Hart who could be getting 18. They say Josh Hart could. Well, we don't even got to go to him, but just comparing him to Josh Hart, they saying he could get 18 million, and
Well,
that's gonna be
I'd pay
coming off.
him that.
That's gonna be coming off our bench though.
Yeah.
So it's like
Well,
you know,
the thing with Josh Hart is they can switch him to be a starter. Like he flips on and off.
but
But
what
I
about Quentin Grimes? What about
But
Grimes?
yeah, I know. But they what they did at the ending of the ending of the season, they were switching Josh Hart to be a starter between Quentin Grimes when he was hurt. So I mean, you know, depending, he most likely won't be a starter. But I think 18 million off the bench, that's all right. I mean, you paid Evan Fournier, whatever his name is, a buttload of money to do nothing at all at the half end of the year, and we still have him left, and we probably going to trade him. But I'm going off on a tangent here. I'll talk about quickly here. Um, that's a pricey penny to have, again, like you said, someone for sure coming off the bench. Because, like we touched on Josh Hart, if Quentin Grimes is hurt, they're probably going to start Josh Hart. So you're paying $18 million for Josh Hart to, probably start a couple of games. Sure. But quickly, he will only start if Brunson's not available. If Brunson's available, which seems to be prominently a thing throughout the last year, quickly's never starting a game. So if you're paying him a ton of money to just come off the bench, I think that's a lot of money for someone to come off the bench. And
I
and
agree.
the biggest thing is, you know, with Emmanuel quickly, the biggest thing is his consistency. Well, like we said before in one of our shows, I don't remember what episode it was, but in the beginning of the year last year, you were hesitant on what Quickly was going to do for the season. And we watched the Grizzly game, the game, the season opener against the Grizzlies, and you were like, I'm not too sold on Quickly. And then as the season progressed, the ending of his season, he really kind of, it put him to his play set to the test. He showed that he's a very capable bench player and a very important role player, and so he was looking to get paid in regards to the performance he had at the end of his season. But then when the playoffs rolled around, he didn't show up. I mean, when you really look at it, Manuel quickly could have showed out way more in the playoffs. And so if he's looking to get paid big bucks, I mean, I think it's a little
Yeah.
bit risky if you're the Knicks because even though he's a great ball player, he had a great ending of his season. Are you really going to open the books for someone who has proven 2 times that he's not capable of performing in the playoffs? And now, yes, he did get hurt, and so he didn't really play for the majority of the Heat series, and that's unfortunate because he was hurt. We probably could have used him, but the thing is that even when he was playing in the Heat series, he still wasn't performing. And when he was performing, and when he was first time in the playoffs, he kind of didn't find his footing. And then the second time, he didn't find his footing. We needed him to score at least 15 to 20 points off the bench in order for the Knicks to continue their season. And with him not performing well in game 1, we lost game 1 against Miami, and then the story reveals itself after that. So for me personally, I like Emmanuel quickly. I would like to see him remain on the team, but the last thing I want to do before I give it to you here, Jordan, again, is that we talked about this before. Emmanuel quickly, if he's looking to get paid, he's can get paid in New York, but he's also trying to become a better ball player. And so when you're behind Jalen Brunson, you're not going to really be able to get as many minutes as you're looking for in regards to improving your game. And I think personally, if he's he a free agent? This is a free agent year for
I
Emmanuel
think he
quickly, or
could. I think he could potentially get an extension.
oh,
I
so
think he
this
got
is an extension year for quickly. That's what we were talking about then, because he can't.
right.
It's not like he can walk, so he's looking to get extended. An extension, if he's looking to get an extended contract, the Knicks might do it. But if I'm quickly, I'm probably looking to better my career and try to start for a team. So if he signs a contract with the Knicks and gets paid, he could have more success overall in regards to a team success rate, right? But he's going to have to sacrifice a lot of playing time because he's going to still see the court. Obviously, he was our bench's best player or one of our most important players to come off the bench really throughout the entire year until Josh Hart kind of came along and he became really prominent over quickly as being more important. He was the catalyst, the Kickstarter for the bench that really improved Quickly's game. But to pay him that much, I wouldn't really be entirely upset if they paid him all that because if they paid him what 80 million for 4 years, that's like what about 20
20
15,
mil.
yeah, 20
20
mil
mil.
a year. That's reasonable. But again, we're talking about someone that's coming off the bench, so. But if he can perform like he did at the ending of his season, then I will absolutely give him that money. Like if he plays the Celtic game that he started, if he does that every game, absolutely give him that money. But again, there's no way he's going to be able to do that. But I like the kid. I hope he stays a Nick, but we'll just have to see. So I'll throw it back to you.
Yeah, I just think it's mainly more so just looking at it in the Knicks view and trying to understand and get into their mind. I would just say maybe they're looking at it, if they were to do it, just like the pros of doing it would be, I guess, him being as young as he is, he'll only be 24 next year. So it's like, he can still grow into that contract. He's still getting better. You making that deal with the assumption that he's going to come back even better next year, and I would bet on him coming back better next year, and getting better from shooting, and with his shooting and defense, and getting stronger. So, um, I wouldn't be surprised if the Knicks did, pull the trigger on it, and things, whatever, something might come down the line, and we might have to make a trade, and his salary might be useful or whatever the case may be. So, I just think, it can't. I don't think it'd be cons to it. I think only con would be just maybe the money situation. That's how the flexibility. How much limiting how much are we going to be limiting our flexibility by making this extent doing this extension, but other than that, um I don't think that's it's I think it would be a good move. But I was going to say yeah. So did you have anything else more to talk about quickly? I was going
No,
to go to.
nope.
So yeah, so Cat, I want to talk about Cat. Yeah, Jonathan just texted me. I think he texted me the other day saying that Cat was at the game and he threw out the first pitch. So
I thought
yeah,
he did. Knicks fan.
I think he was at the Yankee game because he said he a Yankee fan, like a lifetime Yankee fan or something
Oh,
like that.
really? I don't know. I might be lying, but I just watched a video on Knicks fan TV, and the thumbnail was him in Yankee gear throwing a ball. So I'm gonna assume that's what he did. But I can look it up while Jordan talks.
Yeah, he just got. I feel like I saw like something on Twitter or somewhere on social media where he was getting interviewed and he was saying like I'm always gonna be a Yankee fan, So I guess he's always been a Yankee fan. So I'm like, oh, we'll see about that. But um, I just feel like with Cat, I definitely think it just has to. We just have to figure out what the trade's gonna look like, and I do think, to be honest, that him, Cat, and what you call it can work potentially. Well, maybe not. Let me not say that. I don't know. I was gonna say Cat and Mitch, but I think I think Cat is better served being a center because just thinking about how what just happened to Mitch in the playoffs and how Bam just kind of abused him. It was just so fast. We need some more speed at the power forward position. Um, but like if we was to make this deal, I would just say I would want Cat at the 5. I think Cat would be helpful for the team. I mean, at least from an offensive perspective. Defense, well, we'll have to see. But I just I don't know. I think he would be helpful. I think he if we getting rid of Randall in this trade and we sending Randall to Minnesota, I definitely wouldn't mind doing that, to be honest. But then again, this is a tough one. This is a because it's like I just don't know how like our team is going to look after the trade. Depending on who's in the trade, I just don't. I just want to, it's like who's going to play because if Randall's in the trade, who's going to play power forward for us now? Unless we bringing somebody back in that trade, but I don't know. That's kind of a tough one for me, but yeah, I'll kick it to you.
All right, so I did look it up. He did throw the ceremonial first pitch at the Yankee game. I think it was yesterday. They played Baltimore on a I think 6-5 win. But I'm not a Yankee fan. I don't think Jordan's a Yankee fan. I think we're both Met fan here, so we can care less about the Yankees. But the fact that
Right.
he is in there pitching, doing the ceremonial first pitch, and he's always been a Yankee fan. Everyone was like, "Oh, he's at the Yankee game, so therefore the Knicks are trying to target him." So for me, like, I here's the deal. For me, with Carl Anthony Towns, I don't want them to trade for him. He's a good basketball player, don't get me wrong, but the Minnesota Timberwolves are the last team you want to trade with in regards to if you're the New York Knicks. The reason why is because they gutted their entire future for Rudy Gobert last year, and they gave a ton of picks and important role players to the Utah Jazz. And what are the Minnesota Timberwolves looking for is to gain those picks back. So with Carl Anthony Towns being an absolutely powerhouse player, they're going to be looking to get picks back they're going to be looking to maybe possibly exchange another superstar with Karl Anthony Towns. And like Jordan was saying, it might be a deal with Julius Randle going down there, plus the Knicks giving him picks. I don't think he's a player to where you need to gut your, well, not necessarily gut your entire roster, because that's not what they would do, is gut your entire future in regards to picks for Karl Anthony Towns. I don't really think he's all that great in the defensive end. And when you're a center, you need to be good defensively. You need to be able to guard players like Bam Adebayo. We saw that against Miami. He was able to torch almost every single person on the Knicks, and
Mm-hmm.
I don't think Karl Anthony Towns would last a second with Bam Adebayo
Right.
down in the paint. So I don't think he would be a good defensive option with him. And again, I know we're kind of maybe the Randall hate group, but in regards to defense, if Randall's playing good, he's going to play good defense. I'd rather have Julius Randle play defense over Karl Anthony Towns play defense, for me personally, any day of the week. Because again, if you retain Julius Randle and you don't go out to get Karl Anthony Towns, you still keep all your picks that you have right now. And I just personally, I'm not really that attracted to that Karl Anthony Towns deal or doing a deal with the Timberwolves. It just doesn't seem interesting to me. And I think I'd rather just run it back with the team that they have now and maybe add in an additional veteran role player to come off of the bench. Like, that's really kind of where I'm at now. If you really want to try to contend, you would then have to try to really get a solid contender. Last week we talked about Joel Embiid, and you would have to get way more to get Joel Embiid. But we're talking about Joel Embiid and Karl Anthony Towns. The comparison between the two of them is
Right.
night and day. Again, I don't really love to compare players, but when you do that, when we talk about trading, the two big trades that they're kind of looking at, or the rumors are going around, are between Joel Embiid and Karl Anthony Towns. I don't really care for either, because again, we would have to be giving away a ton of picks to both of those teams. And again, they're the team. Both of those teams are in the same boat. They traded, they gutted their entire future. Well, not their entire future, but a big portion of their future when they traded. When the Timberwolves traded for Rudy Gobert, which is an absolutely absurd trade, and they're probably regretting it big time. And then when Philadelphia traded for James Harden, they gave away a reasonable amount of picks with swaps and stuff. So they're trying to get those back. And if I'm the Knicks, we made it to semifinals. We're a couple of small signings away from getting to where we need to get, and I think that's what they should do. But I'll just throw it back to you.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know, man. I guess I'm kind of torn because it's. I guess I don't know. It's like I know we got the picks, but I also have a feeling in my heart and in my soul, especially with, like I said, like we had with Melo, the situation. It's like, we in win now mode. So especially after this past year, I'm not to say I want to mortgage the future, but we do have extra. From what I gather, we still do have some type of extra picks. Not from our own years that we can still trade. So with that being said, we're not gonna make all these picks. Like all these people, all these players is getting drafted, especially because Jalen Brunson is solidified. Julius Randle potentially probably is still could be solidified. RJ Barrett solidified. Quentin Grimes solidified. We'll see what happens real quickly. Obi Toppin's probably out of there. But that Mitchell Robinson, it remains to be seen. But for right now, I would definitely say solidified. So we kind of have though, our nucleus really together, but at the same time, we have to figure out what we can do to make that nucleus better, and that might involve us trading those picks. So that's why I say, like, obviously not mortgaging the future, but if something comes along this year where it's like, oh, maybe we can just make that trade to get that third guy, where it's like that third mid tier guy, like Jaylen Brown level type of guy, you know, to add to Julius and Brunson, we can get that. If it's an opportunity out there for us to get that, I would say we should try and go get that. But like I said, I don't want us to just go jumping at. Yeah, we can't go jumping at everything, because I don't know. You just got to be careful because, like you said, you don't want to end up like the Timberwolves and mortgage everything for a player who really didn't take y'all too much higher than where y'all really needed to go. So, but yeah. So yeah, with that being said, we'll see what happens with Karl-Anthony Towns. And I think there'll probably be more people as as off season goes along, especially after the finals end, where more things, more rumors, more players maybe trying to get out of their team. So I'm sure this is only the beginning. This is very early. So yeah, I know we wanted to talk about Josh Hart getting his I did see a report that they said he could get up to upwards of 18 million a year with his next contract. He is likely to re-sign with the Knicks. So that's definitely a good sign. Great player, probably going down as one of the best. Got to be a top 5 mid-season trade for the Knicks in history. Got to be. So you definitely have to tip your cap off to Josh Hart, and I definitely look forward to seeing if he can get better at shooting this over this offseason. So, and being more confident in his shot for next year, because that'll definitely help us so much. And I just think we definitely should just pull the trigger on this. And he really carried our bench and was an anchor for us. So yeah, let's see what we do. Let's see what we give him. So you though.
Yeah, I give him the 18. When we were talking about 18.5, absolutely, I'll give him that money. He's an absolute must sign. Do not let him walk. Get him to stay on the Knicks. He was a huge impact, and like you said, definitely top 5 midseason trade. Probably for me, I mean, this might be the second best midseason trade because Melo was midseason, right? Melo's trade was midseason, right?
Yeah, Melo was
Yeah,
midseason.
I
He
mean,
remember
Melo's
that one.
gonna be the best trade for me. You're getting Melo,
Yeah,
absolutely. But the what he did, he just it completely took the bench, gave them the spark they needed to put the Knicks to secure a spot in the playoffs, and he was also able to guide that bench as best as he could in the series against Cleveland and for the most part against Miami. But again, I think if we can have him for an entire season, I'm all for it. So that 18 million, absolutely give him. And when you're talking about his shot, again, I think if he plays for the Knicks a whole year, he's gonna be able to improve his shot if he plays a lot more, and then he gets open looks and he's able to knock his shots down when he's open, and he's gonna play a lot because clearly Tom Thibodeau loved what he did as soon as they got him. So for Josh Hart, all the love here's we give. I'm giving my flowers to him. He deserves to get paid, but I don't think more than what 22. I mean, listen, as outside of like 25, which is kind of ridiculous yearly. 18.5. If that's what he's asking, absolutely, you deserve that. But
right.
that's really my standpoint on Josh Hart. I love the guy, and I want him to see him stay on the Knicks.
So yeah, man. So yeah, that almost pretty much concludes our show. But I just want to play devil's advocate before we end this show with you, because you was just saying, how like you don't want to give up the hall for a play, Karl-Anthony Towns in this or even Joel Embiid in this circumstance right now. But like hypothetically going back to when Melo got traded for, we kind of gave up.
We gave the house for Melo. Yeah, we
we
did.
gave the house.
Well, here's the thing. Oh, go ahead. Keep going. Keep going.
I'm just saying, in hindsight, don't you think if we were able to like, if we waited and we didn't trade for him and we was able to get him in free agency, potentially, if we was able to do that, we might be having a whole nother different conversation right now. As far as like the Knicks and everything, and Melo and his legacy, and
Oh
you
yeah,
know,
I know. Yeah.
but yeah, just playing devil's advocate.
Yeah, no. I actually have one question too. I'll continue on what you were saying. The last question is going to be pretty interesting. I want to see what you think about it. But for that trade for Melo, if no one traded for him, he was resigning with Denver. I don't think
Okay.
he was either resigning with Denver or he was going to go to Miami with LeBron. Like really, he was not going to. Who was on the Knicks?
Yeah.
That he was going to sign for the Knicks. The Knicks needed a superstar, so they sent their entire house to Denver for Melo. And here's the deal: Melo is going to be the superstar you need to surround an entire team for the Knicks. So if you're looking to get that superstar and have that centerpiece, you clear your house to get that guy, right? And Melo was that guy to do so. So here's the deal with Karl Anthony Towns. The New York Knicks already have that superstar centerpiece with Jalen Brunson. He clearly showed last year that he's their centerpiece, and you had to surround him. You had to surround him
I
with
don't
role
know,
players.
man.
Listen,
I can't say that.
I
I'll be
mean,
honest
listen,
with
that's what he did. He played out of his mind. He
you.
got the
Yeah,
Knicks to
yeah, but see,
the semifinals or the conference semifinals, and he was playing out of his mind. Like, listen, are you going to act like he's mellow right now? Probably not. He only played 1 year. Like, I get your concern here.
but I'll be honest, I'm just saying, I don't think Melo would have did. I mean, I'm thinking Melo. I don't think Melo would have took us no further than Jalen Brunson would have been able to, just from the simple fact that, I just think that they need, and Melo needed also.
Right.
He needed an alpha. He needed not an alpha, but he needed somebody that could match him. Like, and
Right.
Brunson, I
So
mean, and he never had like, well, Melo never had that. Melo, I
yeah,
mean,
because they cleared the house.
they thought Stoudemire. Well, towards the beginning when
And he
Melo
was hurt
first came
every
here,
Stoudemire was hurt like every single game
I,
every year.
yeah, yeah. But like in the beginning, Stoudemire was like, he was decent. He was, but he, like you said, his body just started breaking down as soon as Melo got there. It's like literally as soon as Melo got there, he just broke down.
Oh
Like
yeah. But
that's crazy to me. But
yeah, but like for me, it's like so when you trade for Melo, that's what you do because you want that superstar, like I already said. If they didn't do that trade, he wouldn't have been a Nick. He would have went to the Heat with LeBron and would have chased a ring. Like he wanted to always play with LeBron. He finally got to do that in the ending of his career when he was on the Lakers. But he most likely would have either stayed in Denver because it was working out pretty well for Melo in Denver, and then he probably would have went to Miami. But the thing with me, what like I'm saying, when you trade for Melo, you know he's consistent and you know he's going to perform. So when you look at Karl Anthony Towns, you know he's a good ball player, but like we are already talking about his concerns on the defense and his concern to take a team to the next step, right? So Minnesota has been always trying to get to the next step, right? And they've never got to that next step. They thought Rudy Gobert was going to be that next step, and he didn't do anything, and they missed the playoffs. So when you look at the Knicks, if you're going to clear the house, you're going to have to clear the house for someone that is going to be consistent and take the team to the next level. So we were talking about like Jalen Brown. I would absolutely not clear the whole house, but I would give picks for Jalen Brown because you know he's a consistent player. You know he's a ball player that can take a team to the next level.
wait. So now we acting like cat a scrub though.
No, I'm not saying he's a scrub. I'm saying he's
But
not going to be able to take the team to the next level. He hasn't proved his point in Minnesota. What is he going to do? Come to New York and prove his point?
yeah, I mean, you never know.
I mean, you never know. But for me, I
But no,
personally like. There's a couple players. Sorry to keep
nah,
rolling you
you good,
over,
bro. Ain't no problem.
but there's players that are clearly consistent, right? And I'm not saying that Karl Anthony Towns is not clearly consistent, but he can't provide a consistency that makes his team get over that advancement, right? That Minnesota team
Well, that's
stays
from Minnesota though. But see, and that's what I was trying to get into. Like,
okay,
just I'm thinking with the Knicks, my thought process, I always try to look at things in both ways.
right,
I'm thinking like, if the Knicks was to do this, I'm thinking like, why would they want to do this? So, for me, I'm thinking for Kyle Anthony Towns, for one, he's the total polar opposite to Mitchell Robinson. Obviously, you're right. Defense. Is not his strong suit. Okay, true that. But offense is his strong suit. and
right,
for one, like I said, I was just about to say, I think him being able to open up so much more space for everybody else on the court. For one, look, we got nothing but Jalen Brunson is an inside player. RJ Barrett is an inside player. Who else? Grimes.
Randall's inside.
Grimes is a shooter. I mean, if Randall would probably be in that trade. So I'm not even gonna think about him. Yeah, I mean, just hypothetically, Randall would be in that trade. So I ain't even gonna think about him. But even if they kept Randall, that still would be good because like Randall's an inside player. He could just, what I'm saying. I just think that would just help the offense or help. And I just think back to like, just look at even though they didn't go far, but Sacramento. They was just they didn't have what's the name. Sabonis isn't the best defensive player,
Right.
and that showed like he wasn't able to overcome that. But I just think I don't know. I just think if from an offensive standpoint, I can understand why they would do it. But like they would just have to figure out like defensively. That's why I would say like if you trade Randall, then they would definitely have to get like a defender, like a power forward that's like a real defender in there to like kind of help things out. Somebody that can
Right.
guard them, and stick with like multiple players. So I don't know, man. I'm just thinking from it, like from an offensive standpoint. You think
Offensively, oh yeah, that's a great.
Brunson,
Yeah.
Barrett, and Towns.
But the only good defender on that list is really RJ has his moments, and Grimes is the only
Right.
really good
If we
defender.
make
Outside of that,
so
you have Grimes is the only good defender.
that's what I'm banking on. I'm banking on Grimes. I'm definitely banking on RJ to get better next year at defense. He
Oh yeah,
definitely
he's
come
gonna
back.
get better, but
He definitely better come.
Brunson's 6'2", he can't do anything on defense. You signed him for offense, so he's out of the count. He still plays all right defense, but he's
Yeah.
out of the count. He's not gonna play.
But and then, like I said, if we get a power forward that can really like stick with like a Draymond Green, like S type of player,
Mhm.
like that can just stay with all types of players, that's like very versatile. I think that would be helpful.
Yeah.
I think that would kind of mask the defensive deficiencies of Brunson and Towns. And
Yeah.
yeah, but and then on top of that, seeing Towns, like I said, going to a new place, that could energize a player and then that can motivate
Right.
him to do better on defense and do, what I'm saying, especially being in a new environment. And so I see I don't know but like I said, like you said though, it gotta be the right deal. And like you said, we can't give up everything for him. No, we can't move
Right.
Earth.
Yeah. For me, I don't want to dock Carl Anthony Towns. He's been a great player ever since he's got to the league. Every time I've watched Minnesota, he does some absolutely sensational things. But I don't think he's a player to where you must have him, right? Because I don't really think in the Knicks situation to where you got to the semifinals, the piece that you're missing is Carl Anthony Towns. That just doesn't ring the bell for me as much. And when you look at a team that got to the semifinals within the Knicks, you're looking at a team that has offensive abilities, but you need defensive help, but you need also really consistent players, right? That's the reason why the Knicks were able to move on from the semifinals is because the only really consistent guy that was on the Knicks was Jalen Brunson. While RJ was still reasonably consistent, but he failed to prove that point in Game 6 and in Game 3 in Miami series. And so you need another guy that's going to be consistent alongside Jalen Brunson. And that's what I'm getting at. And don't get me wrong, is Karl Anthony Towns going to be consistent offensively? Probably. But the thing is, if they deny Karl Anthony Towns the ball, then he's not going to be able to do anything offensively. And so if he can't do anything offensively and he can't do anything defensively, then he's an irrelevant player on the court right there. Like that's the reason. That's
I
that.
don't think. I think he's too skilled to be irrelevant. Like I said, like the shooting, like him being able to shoot, and then like I said, on top of that, him moving the big man out of the paint. That's just gonna help Brunson. Brunson gonna be able to get in the
Right.
paint.
Yeah.
So that's why I say like from an offensive like that's why I think our defense was so difficult, especially in the playoffs, is because for one, and that's always been an issue, is Mitchell Robinson. He's a zero on it's 4-on-5 on offense when Mitchell
Right.
Robinson in the game. So it's like he's not going to, Hartenstein is a little more of he's a smidge, a couple notches, a little bit above
Yeah.
Mitch from an offensive standpoint. So he helps a little bit more in that area, but he's not as good defensively as
Yeah.
Mitch, but he's still good too. But I don't know. I just think us having a consistent shooter at center. Look at what Joker's doing right now.
Oh, yeah, this guy's nuts.
You know what I'm
I
saying?
mean,
But like,
dude,
I'm not saying he's joking.
I can
I'm not
agree to
saying,
your points.
but just him being able to stretch the floor, that offense, like and on top of that, he's a pretty good passer. But I don't know. Like you said, man, we'll see. We'll see what happens. But if it like as far as the consistency piece, when you say that, like, hey, at this point, I don't got too much faith in Randall, so I'm willing to bet. I'm willing to bet on Towns at this point.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I'd rather take Towns offensively than Randall because Randall's either amazing or sucks. So it's just not fun. And I think Towns is more consistent when it comes to being offensively. And like you said, yeah, he's going to be able to stretch the floor. He's going to be a prominent factor in the offense instead of having Mitch be there and then it's 4-on-5 for the Knicks because Mitch is only just going to stand there, wait until he's maybe open, and then the lob is going to come to him or the easy pass and he's wide open for a dunk. He's not going to do really much anything in regards to creating offense himself, to where when you add Karl Anthony Towns, then now you have a center that is able to orchestrate an offense at the center spot and help Jalen Brunson. But again, I don't really think that's the guy to really truly get because
I feel you though. I feel you though.
if you're gonna really clear a reasonable amount of draft picks, so we're probably looking at 3 to 4. And again, like you said,
The way I'm thinking, the way I see it, like I said, is like you said, Karl Anthony Towns has his deficiencies, just like like I said, Embiid does. So I don't see us. If it's me, I don't see us giving up all them picks for him, especially if we put Randall in the deal. He's an All NBA player, so
right.
for one, like I'm about to say, Randall, he got to have some value, off the strength of that alone. And like I said, probably another young player like Quickly or Obi,
Obi's probably in
maybe,
there.
or maybe even both of them. Probably not both, but like I said, yeah, probably like Obi or Quickly in the deal. I think I don't think because I just saw not too long ago somebody had made a mock draft and it had Randall and Jericho Sims going there for Karl Anthony Towns straight up. So I mean, like I can't see them being like, oh, we need all these picks because for one, he doesn't have too much success in the playoffs. Two, like we were just talking about, his defensive, he has defensive deficiencies, and three, and on top of that, we have another player with with similar issues as him. So
Right.
it's like, for one, I feel like it's not to say it's an even trade, but it's close to an even trade.
Right.
In my mind, I'm like, I don't see, I don't. Now Embiid, yeah, we can talk about Embiid, MVP, yeah, I see that. even with the injury risk.
Right. Yeah.
But
Like if
not Towns.
yeah, if you're talking about like that trade, like a Randall and then maybe a one pick, I wouldn't be too opposed to that because, like we said, Randall's not consistent. I'd rather have someone that's able to orchestrate the offense a little bit better in the center position. But then if you do that, what are you going to do with Mitchell Robinson? He's going to come off the bench. He's not going to want to come off the bench, so you're going to have to probably trade him too.
You're right. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, yeah.
So, so I mean,
But he wouldn't be bad off the bench though. But
no,
yeah.
because he got paid the big bucks. He's not getting paid to come off the bench.
Nah, you're right.
You know, knowing Robinson, if they told him you're coming off the bench, he'd be pissed. I'm not coming off the bench. You gotta have to trade me
Yeah,
then. That's
yeah, yeah.
probably what he would say. I mean, I like the guy, but overall, yeah, I think Carl Anthony Towns. If you can do a trade that doesn't involve gutting your entire future in regards to picks, I'd do it just to be able to, like you said, have an offense that is more orchestrated. But in regards to offense, I mean, if you're going to gut your entire future, I think they should have done it last year with Donovan Mitchell, but that's just my personal opinion.
Well,
Or
I think it turned out well for us. Honestly, us not doing it turned out well. Because Brunson showed himself to be just as good, if not better.
right, yeah.
Top of that,
But you
like
still would have had Brunson and Mitchell on the backcourt. But
uh, that
but
defense.
who knows? It didn't happen, so we can only, I guess, wish or predict. But that's my really thoughts on Carl Anthony Towns. Do you have anything else to say? Because I do have one question to ask you.
Oh, I'll let you shoot that question, man.
All right. So Evan Fourier, our buddy Evan Fourier, he said his time is done in New York, and he's gonna get traded. And so I think that's a trade that's probably going to happen. So we talked about Carl Anthony Towns. Do you think that deal involves Evan Fourier, or are we just gonna trade him for something else?
Uh, at this point, I think we're just gonna trade him for whatever we can get for him.
Right. Probably a second round.
At this point, because it's like for one, I feel bad, but for him, because I think it was expectations with him coming here of him to be obviously better than what he showed, and he wasn't really unfortunately able to fulfill those expectations that what people had of him, and it's unfortunate, but I think that what he should go to him going to a contender. I'm sure he'll do good for a contender somewhere. And like I said, I think if we can get like a pick, second round pick, or whatever we can get, I would say let's just get that get that value and just let him go, let him go to greener
Yep.
path. We are both be on our way because I think that's a move to Knicks. And for one, I think he could have helped in the playoffs, but it's just like you said, it's like the defense with our defense we needed more defense on it, but at the same time we needed shooting, and that's the
Yeah,
sad part.
he's terrible at
But
defense
that's
and he can shoot, but
that's what I was going to say is like the good thing about Grimes, having a player like Grimes, is having that defense and offense. I mean that shooting, that shooting component, we need that. So I just hope we can get more players in there like that. And you know I wish having Fournier the best, man.
yeah, I do too. But
You know.
yeah, I think I agree with you. I just wanted to add that because we don't really talk about Evan Fourier and his time in New York is definitely going to be concluded, hopefully in the off season. So we just give him a little bit of a spot here in our show, and yeah, that's about it. So,
Yeah, yeah,
um,
yeah.
you wanted
No,
to talk about anything else? Because that was really about it for me.
I think that's about it. Yeah, we good. So it was great to see y'all. Great to talk with y'all again. Definitely gonna be back next week talking some more Knicks. I'm sure there'll be more news to discuss, and as it comes our way, we'll definitely be talking about it in our next show and highlighting whatever we can highlight. And yeah. Did you want to add anything else?
Yeah, we do this show every week. We do Nick City Podcast, the show that never sleeps every week. So if you're interested, make sure you're subscribed so you can see the show every week. We do shorts. We try to do a couple of YouTube shorts on the channel here talking about anything in regards to the New York Knicks. not a whole lot of news right now. Only a couple of things that we can cover the entire thing with the show, but do definitely stick around because we're going to do more shorts in the future. Um, Lastly, if you want to listen to the show, we have it on Spotify. So it's all over the channel. You can go to the homepage. There's a link there. You can go to any of the descriptions of the current New York Knicks City podcasts that are on YouTube, and the links in there as well. And I also made a short on that has the link over there. So if you rather listen to the show than watch the show, definitely consider following us on Spotify. But other than that, that's pretty much it. I did want to show one thing. Obviously, I have my Mellow jersey over there to represent his retirement, but I did buy a new jersey. So every time I buy a new Knicks jersey, I'm going to show it on the show. Jordan already knows what it is, but I did decide to get the captain, Patrick Ewing jersey. So there it is. It's so that I definitely needed his jersey, so I added it to the collection. But other than that,
how many you got? How many you got, man?
Right now, in regards to the Knicks, I have Willis Reed, R.J. Barrett, Carmelo Anthony, and Patrick Ewing. So I only have 4, which is surprisingly to me. But overall, basketball, I have 6. So I have additional jerseys outside of the Knicks. I have a Gordon Hayward Utah Jazz jersey, and I have an Orlando Magic Shaquille O'Neal. I think it's
okay.
I think it's blue with the pinstripes. It might be the black one with pinstripes, but there's 2 versions. But I don't know if you want to see it, I'll show you guys another time. But I just wanted to show that. But other than that, that's it from me. Again, make sure to like and subscribe if you want to see us next time. So I'll let Jordan close us out here.
Yeah. So like you said, like and subscribe. Knicks City Rock, the show that never sleeps. And I'll see y'all guys at the next one. Peace.
All right, peace.